When I was growing up, I was always a good girl. I did my homework, I didn't answer back, and I did as I was told. So my mum and I always joked that when I hit 19 and throughout my 20s I had a kind of late rebellion and, you know, the kind of teenage, no, I'm not doing that, and no, I'm not doing as you say, and I'm going to be a bit reckless and make ridiculous decisions at times, which I'll later learn from because I'm independent. So some of these experiences, I want to tell you actually, I was, and in some ways still am, I was a real spiritual seeker. I really wanted to know, I wanted to experience, and I explored this in different ways. One of which was through mushrooms. And I must tell you, I was feeling totally like, I can't talk about that in public, I can't talk about drugs. One, because I have this kind of irrational fear of the police, and it's lucky I don't do anything anymore. And two, because I work with children. And then I considered, actually I had this really wonderful experience with the mum. I work with a baby, I take care of her daughter. And I told her, those of you that were here last month, I told her about a mental breakdown I had 4 years ago. And she was like, Charlie, I love how you're comfortable in your skin and you share who you are, and it doesn't make any difference for you caring for my child. Mushrooms or no mushrooms. It was a real heart connection. Anyways, this story is actually about tolerance and understanding. One summer during my mid-20s, beginning of the summer, some friends and I went camping and ate the little mushrooms. And I walked around in the forest on my own. I don't know why all my friends seemed to be able to be like, oh, look at the colours. And I was always having some kind of deep psychological something. And I looked around and pop, 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 pop. There they were, suddenly, everywhere. Pop, 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 pop. Oh. And I heard this voice that said, slow, slow. The end of the summer came round, and it was the closing of a chapter for me. I was living in this community house in London, about 7 of us, and I was about to leave this experience there that had been part of the founding of this house and go off to storytelling school. So, decided to eat some mushrooms with my roommate, who I was kind of a bit in love with at the time, but never really had the courage to tell him. He had an interesting story. His grandfather came from India on a boat to South Africa, and when he got close, his grandfather jumped off the boat, ran into the forest, and became part of a Sufi community. And that was his background, his story. And I had another roommate the first one, let's call him Elias. The second one, let's call him Andrew. Elias invited Andrew to come and eat mushrooms with us, and I was like, oh great. Because I didn't really connect with him at all. He was so slow in his communication. I wondered if he would ever get to the end of the sentence. And I was so impatient. I was so impatient in those days. Still am a bit. Anyway, I kept looking at him, at Andrew, and I kept seeing these like kind of ugly orange and pink colours in front of his face. And then I looked away and they were gone. And I looked back and here they were colours again, and I realised what was happening. I was all the time judging him. And because of that, it was blocking me from seeing him clearly, from seeing who he really was. So I decided to voice this out loud to both of them, and poof, the colours went away. And we actually became really close from this raw, honest meeting. Oh, what? Honest meeting. We became really close after this sharing and this night together. Still are. the three of us went out into the garden and we stood around the fire pit that Andrew had built. You know, it was England, so we didn't know, it was pretty damp outside. Is it going to rain? But we stood around the fire pit and shared stories. Elias said you could travel all around the world in a day just through people's stories. Elias already told you his background, and Andrew, also from South Africa, grew up sort of white middle class farm, growing up on a farm, and I was really kind of drawn in by their stories and on both sides of the apartheid. And as we were talking, I suddenly looked down and felt this cold thing on my leg. I looked down and I was like, oh, it's you. Pop, 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 pop. Where are you going? Andrew looked at the tiny little snail that was on my leg, slithering its way upwards. I was really like, there's not really anywhere to go, to be honest. But Andrew said, maybe he's just trying to see life from a different point of view. And I looked at him and bowed down. And I said, thank you, snail, for your teachings of patience and perseverance. And I picked him up between my two fingers, and he didn't go inside. Put him on my hand. His little two eyes went all around, like looking up at the skies. I'd say, like, whoa. Perhaps he'd waited his whole life just to see the world from up high, just like the eagle. And as much as I wanted this moment to last forever, all good things must come to an end. So I took him off my hand and I went to go and find a nice little leaf to put him on, or something. I have to let go. And then I had another voice. Just remember, slow down, hang tight, and enjoy the ride. I'm getting very close with this microphone today. Enjoy the ride. Go well tonight. Be well. Stay. Enjoy. Slow down. Tell people that you love them. Talk to strangers. Ask the story of their shoes. Thank you.
Thank you.